Good evening. Well, perhaps the Omicron variant is convenient for the Prime Minister, who has had simply the most catastrophic day. A dismal performance in the House of Commons, increasing sense of mutiny amongst many on his backbenches. Some snap opinion polling suggesting from comrades that 54% of the country now think he should resign over the Christmas party that took place on December the 18th last year, let alone the other parties that may have happened in his flat on November the 13th, and indeed one that Gavin Williamson held too. So it's been a very difficult, frankly disastrous day, and a lot of people are beginning to say this Prime Minister simply doesn't tell the truth. So, a press conference and the announcement of Plan B. And this, in my opinion, is all designed to cover up the fact that actually his prime ministership is now in very, very deep trouble. And what he's told us in the course of the last few minutes is because of the spread of this Omicron variant, and despite the fact that in other countries they're saying this is much, much milder than the Delta variant, despite all of this, we're to be told to wear face masks virtually everywhere. Vaccine passports are being introduced in this country, in England, for the first time in the history of our nation. You will not be able to go to a nightclub, you will not be able to attend a Premier League football game unless you can show that you have the vaccine passport. And almost unbelievably, in questions after his press conference, he said that we may need to have a national conversation about mandatory vaccination. I am absolutely astonished by that. I'm not surprised that the Germans and the Austrians and the European Union are going down that path. I never, ever believed in my life I would hear such a thing from a British Prime Minister. I think the press conference, the launch of Plan B, is perhaps the least conservative thing I've ever seen in my lifetime. Let's have a look at Boris Johnson just a few moments ago.
We will reintroduce the guidance to work from home. Guidance to work from home. Employers should use the rest of the week to discuss working arrangements with their employees, but from Monday, you should work from home if you can. Go to work if you must, but work from home if you can. And I know this will be hard for many people, but by reducing your contacts in the workplace, you will help slow transmission. Second, from this Friday, we will further extend the legal requirement to wear a face mask to most public indoor venues, including theatres and cinemas. There will be, of course, exceptions where it's not practical, such as when eating, drinking, exercising or singing. Third, we'll also make the NHS COVID pass mandatory for entry into nightclubs and venues where large crowds gather, including unseated indoor venues with more than 500 people, unseated outdoor venues with more than 4,000 people, and any venue with more than 10,000 people. The NHS COVID pass can still be obtained with 2 doses, but we will keep this under review as the boosters roll out. And having taken clinical advice since the emergence of Omicron, a negative lateral flow test will also be sufficient.
Well, I wouldn't encourage you, of course, at any point in time to break down rules and laws that are set by the government, but as far as I'm concerned, Mr. Johnson, I'm not listening anymore. I don't believe you have the moral authority to lead this country and to put in place such draconian measures. I've no intention of abiding by anything you've asked me to do this evening, and I think that sentiment is one that is now being much more widely shared around this country. Let's remind ourselves why this press conference took place, why the points he just laid out, and the talk of perhaps compulsory vaccinations in our country at some point in the future. Let's remind ourselves why we're here.
But I repeat, Mr. Speaker, that I have been repeatedly assured since these allegations emerged that there was no party and that no COVID rules were broken, and that is what I have been repeatedly assured. But I have asked the Cabinet Secretary to establish all the facts and to report back as soon as possible. And, Mr. Speaker, it goes without saying that if those rules were broken, then there will be disciplinary action for all those involved.
Despite all the reports that up to 40 people partied in number 10 Downing Street on December the 18th last year, there's the Prime Minister twice in front of the nation in the House of Commons saying there was no party. Yet, last night, there was this cringe-making video of Allegra Stratton acting as a spokesperson for the government. And this clip was obtained by ITV. And let's just see the mock game they were playing inside the press room 4 days after that party.
Would the Prime Minister condone having a Christmas party?
What's the answer?
I don't know.
It wasn't a party, it was cheese and wine.
Just be clear, it's not. Is cheese and wine all right? No. It was a business meeting.
I'm joking.
Oh, it's all so funny, isn't it? We've just ruined the Christmas for tens of millions of people. We've just condemned countless hundreds of thousands to never again being able to spend Christmas with mothers, fathers, grandmothers, grandparents, children. And yet they thought it was really, really funny. Well, now stories are coming out, and I have to say Dominic Cummings is helping in this, suggesting there was, in fact, a bit of a get-together and a knees-up in Boris Johnson's flat on November the 13th. Now, since that moment, Allegra Stratton has resigned.
I understand the anger and frustration that people feel. To all of you who lost loved ones, who endured intolerable loneliness, and who struggled with your businesses, I am truly sorry. And this afternoon, I am offering my resignation to the Prime Minister. Thanks for your time.
So there we are. Allegra Stratton is deeply sorry because she's lost her job. This Prime Minister is, I believe, in some considerable trouble. You see, he started off telling the House of Commons that absolutely there was no way there'd been a party. But at the end of his presentation today, he was saying, well, whether there was or whether there was not a party will have to be decided. He told us he'd been assured regularly that this had not taken place, as if to shift the blame when the real story comes out onto somebody else. Oh, and he's going to ask the Cabinet Secretary to launch an investigation. Well, I tell you what, Mr. Johnson, I'll save you the trouble. Just go into the room next door to you where people are working. Ask them, was there a party here on December the 18th last year? And while you're at it, you could go, couldn't you, to the security gate at the beginning of Downing Street, because the police check in and check out everybody that goes up that narrow street to the doors of number 10. And I say that because, very interesting today, some of our mainstream media don't think this is a story, and I do begin to wonder whether that is perhaps because some of their own representatives might have been present in number 10 Downing Street on that evening. I strongly suspect that they were. The best point, I thought, in PMQs today that was landed by the opposition leader, Sir Keir Starmer. He asked a question: does the Prime Minister have the moral authority to lead the country? And I personally don't think this Prime Minister has the moral authority to lead this country. And I'm very keen to get your views on this. So let me know, does he have the moral authority or not? And I say this above all because Boris Johnson's relationship with the truth has always been pretty loose. He's been very good in all forms of situations at just lying his way out of trouble. It's always served him incredibly well. But I don't believe that this time he can lie his way out of it. And if there are those in the media and those in number 10 who simply think, because of the big diversionary tactic of putting in place draconian measures, Plan B, through a press conference this evening, that somehow this is all going to go away, they are deluded. Do you agree with me that he's lost moral authority? GBviews at gbnews.uk, or you can tweet at GBNews.